Hello guys, it's Chris. From cities carved into stone to ancient pyramids, join me as I reveal to you 9 of the most underrated ancient monuments. Number 9. Petra. In the country of Jordan, you'll find a city from ancient times literally carved into the rocks of the nation. This is known as Petra that was once a lost city. You may look at it and see a giant carving, but this is merely the entranceway to an entire bustling town. History-wise, some believed that Petra was actually built in 9000 BC and was a major source of trade and wealth to an ancient band of Arabic nomads who built Petra to be closer to the trade routes of other nations. According to evidence and sources, these nomads were gifted in not just architecture, but agriculture, survival, and combat. In other words, they knew how to survive and make what they needed. The size and scope of their buildings is mind-boggling to many. Just the doorway is a tribute to fine architecture, as it was made by hand. Once you head inside, you'll find everything from tombs to temples. Now, to be fair, Petra is a popular place. Over 600,000 people visited the buildings in 2017 alone. Yet when you compare that to things like the Eiffel Tower or numerous well-known monuments, you can't help but wonder why it doesn't get even more. This goes double when you consider that it was the final set for the film Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, a fan-favorite movie across the world, one of my favorites too. The perfect place to get lost in history. Number 8. Machu Picchu. Machu Picchu is one of the more known places in the world, but just quite not enough to be called a wonder of the world. This was the city that allowed the world a glimpse inside the Incan Empire. The Incas ruled a lot of South America for some time, including Peru, Bolivia, Chile, Argentina, and more. And yet for a while, we didn't know that much about them. Until, that is, we found Machu Picchu. And once we did, everything changed. In terms of scale, this was one of the biggest cities in the empire, and as such, archaeologists and scientists were able to discern a lot from it. And yet, one of the biggest shocks of the discovery of the city is one that flies in the face of virtually every other civilization in the world. In this city, and apparently in all other cities in the empire, they didn't have marketplaces, which is a common trope in most empires from the ancient world. This reveal has made many wonder how they bought food, traded items, or how the people of the Inca Empire interacted with one another. Yet despite its fame, it's not as visited or praised as other monuments of the world, even though this is a looking glass of sorts into one of the greatest empires in history. Number 7. Koh Ker, Cambodia. You most likely have heard about Angkor Wat in Cambodia, but if you drive about 2 hours, you'll find yourself in Koh Ker, which at one time was actually the capital of the Khmer Empire between the years of 928 and 944 AD. The Khmer Empire had a very long reign, one lasting from 802 to 1431 AD, and during that time it had control of large amounts of land, including parts of Cambodia, Thailand, Laos, and Vietnam. Eventually, the migration of the Thai people mixed with pressure from China and the Mongols, who were constantly causing war at the time, helped bring the empire to a slow and painful end. Koh Ker, though, is expansive, and yet at one point, an entire forest covered it up, making it truly lost to time until it was rediscovered. Many of the things you'll find here include pyramids of great height, and their architecture is actually similar to those of the Mayans. One pyramid stands out from the bunch, though. It has 7 layers and is over 120 feet high. At one time, it was the temple of Jai Waterman IV, one of the leaders of the Khmer Empire, but it's just one of 24 similar structures in the area. I'd kind of like to check that out. Number 6. Lübeck, Germany. Lübeck, Germany is a place that starts its history back in the 12th century. When it was founded, it was done so with a purpose, for it was to be the capital of the Hanseatic League. While that may sound like a military group, it was actually one of commerce. Merchant guilds came together to capitalize and monopolize trade routes in towns. And by extension of them doing that, Lübeck, Germany became a key place of commerce, especially in regards to maritime travel. This was due to the fact that Lübeck was literally a starting point or an ending point for the travel routes at the time, so everyone had to come or go through there at some point. For 4 centuries, trade went in and out of Lübeck until it eventually started to go elsewhere due to various reasons. Sadly, the city was damaged during World War II, But fortunately, there are many spots from medieval times that you can still visit if you can find the place. Some people have such a hard time finding this city on a map that it's been dubbed one of the most overlooked historical sites in all of Europe. Number 5. National History Park, Haiti. Located in Haiti, the National History Park contains the citadel Sans-Souci-Ramire and is more than just a monument and symbol of architecture. Rather, it's a living symbol of the freedom that Haiti won itself after a long and bitter war. In 1790, the black slaves of the then unnamed nation decided to rebel against the French colonists that had bonded them. After 14 years, they declared their victory, and the independent nation of Haiti was truly born. To ensure that they could protect what was theirs, the newly crowned Emperor of Haiti ordered a massive structure to be built, and the citadel was made. This fortress was meant to protect them if necessary, and also to protect their lands in case of an attack. The place was so huge that it could house between 2,000 and 5,000 men, depending on the situation. Later on, additional parts were added to the citadel, thus giving it the name Citadel Sans-Souci-Ramire. Though the monument isn't what it once was in terms of grandeur, many still proclaim it a marvel of architecture, as well as a building that really accentuates the nearby landscape. Furthermore, it's a reminder of what Haiti is, as this was the first nation to be born from a successful slave revolt. Number 4. Ani, Turkey. At one point in time, Ani, Turkey was a central hub of trade for all of Europe. As capital of the Armenian Bagratid dynasty, this place was something to behold, and it was larger than any of the other contemporary cities in Europe for over 400 years. It was so large that it once held over 100,000 people within itself, proving how major a city it was. Then in 1319, an earthquake literally destroyed the city. And now the remains of the city are a ruin for people to observe and look at. But because of how the earthquake did damage, the ruins aren't all in one spot. They're actually spread out over a vast area. So when you do go and visit it, you'll be able to not only see the walls of the city, but palaces, temples, some churches, and more. It's also not a hard spot to get to. You can hire a ride from the nearby town of Kars to take you right to it. If you go check it out, put a note in the comments. Number 3. Shibam, Yemen. Shibam, Yemen is known as many things, including the Manhattan of the desert. But this 1,700-year-old walled city is more than just an interesting sight. It's one steeped in history. For example, it was once one of the wealthiest places in all of the Arabian Peninsula. But now it's a literal shell of itself. The biggest and most obvious selling point of the city is its massive buildings. It was constructed on the concept of vertical construction, meaning that instead of building outwards, you just build upward, which they could do rather easily, as all the buildings of Shibam were made out of mud brick. This not only allowed for easier construction, but actually helped its citizens keep cool in the blistering sun. In 300 AD, Shibam became the capital of Hadramaut, which ironically only happened because its previous capital was destroyed. This city is not only tall, but it's protected by a thick wall, one that helped repel many attacks on the city. Modern-day advances in terms of the use of water and livestock actually helped lead to the decay of the city, but it still stands to this day, a testament to an old style of building that honestly just isn't used anymore. Number 2. Mesa Verde National Park. Before the United States was truly born, the land was inhabited by many tribes of Native Americans. One such tribe were the Pueblos, whose legacy now remains in places like Mesa Verde National Park. You'll find the park in Colorado, but you're gonna have to do some hiking as it's 8,000 feet above sea level. Once you get there though, you'll see the tribe's massive home literally carved into the mountains and hills of the area. Between the archaeological sites and the cliff dwellings, there are nearly 5,000 places to visit while in the national park, and each of them have a place in Pueblo tribe history. After all, this was their home for 900 years. From 450 to 1300 AD, they lived in this part of the land and were able to build incredible constructions that boggle the minds of many. There aren't just homes here, there are temples, farming terraces, dams, and more that the Pueblo tribe built with their own two hands, allowing anyone who comes to visit Mesa Verde to look into their life and time on this planet. Number 1. Newgrange. Despite being a World Heritage Site, Newgrange as a monument is overshadowed by things like Stonehenge and the Great Pyramids of Giza, despite actually being much, much older than them. Newgrange was built around 3200 BC, making it over 5,200 years old. You can find it in Boyne Valley in Ireland, and it's actually part of their Ancient East, which is a tourism destination nowadays. As for the purpose of Newgrange, it's a passage tomb that was built by farmers in the Stone Age. It's near perfectly circular and has an impressive size. It's nearly 300 feet in diameter, 45 feet high, and covers almost an entire acre. What might be the most impressive part of its construction, though, is that during the winter solstice, the tomb actually lights up via a special opening that brings in the sunlight to the central chamber of the tomb, showing that these Stone Age farmers knew not only of the solstice, but how to use it for their needs. There are tours available to explore Newgrange if you're interested. Well, thanks for watching! How many of these monuments and ruins did you know about beforehand? Have you visited any of them? I'd sure love to hear about it, so let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time on World List.